Hello. Hi, how are you all? Yeah, I'm good. Rajshekhar, Himanshi. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Lakshmi. Hi, all. Charan. Good. I guess my audio is good. Lakshmi, thank you. I'm good. I'm good. Thank you very much. So we'll wait for a couple of minutes to join everyone. So anyone, you just tell me what happened in the last session. You guys remember it? What we discussed? Prasanna, hi. Yeah, I'm good. My health is good. Thank you. Bindu, hi. Himanshi, we learn about different types of stories genres. Yeah. Vilasni, yeah, I'm good. Yes. Uh, we discussed. I'll just get back to you with the last session, just a glimpse of it. So what we have done is in the last session, we discussed about story in a storytelling or in a writing of a story in order to prepare one story. So we need some elements. We discussed like those in order to, it's just like preparing, if you're a chef and you are preparing something, some food, we need ingredients, right? The similar way, when you are creating a story also, we need these elements. So few elements we have discussed about it, because without having those elements we cannot say that it's a full story. So that is what we discussed, and as well as the genre also. What are the different types of genres? So I guess few people are saying voice is low. Please use your if you have any headphones or earphones, because I'm sure everyone is having. I don't think everyone is having the same issue. Yeah. So in order to create a story, we need few elements, right? So we have already discussed in the last session. So what are all the elements? Anyone can recollect? Anyone can recollect? Disturbance in sound. One second. Yeah, thank you. Voice is clear. Thank you. now voice is audible. Thank you very much. So yeah, we'll start it off. So we have discussed about all the elements. What are all the elements required to set up or create a story? Because those elements are very important. Like in order to write a book, or in order to write a story for film, or in order to do a stand-up comedy, if you're storytelling, so anything you require these elements. Because why these elements are important? These elements will bring an audience to your world, because you are creating your new world, right? So that is how we call it, all these elements. So elements are nothing but setting, plot, character, right, conflict, and theme. These are the 5 elements which we discussed in the last session. So those elements we are going to discuss about today, like 2 of those elements, which is setting and as well as theme. So how do we set it up? This setting itself, the name itself is a setup, and we also call it a backdrop. Okay, so why we need to create a setup? Because we need to set up a story to bring an audience to your world, because you are creating an imaginary world. So you are inviting an audience to believe it. That is the reason you need to set up a story, right? So you need to create it like in that setting. You need to create it like the mood. The mood also you need to create it, because if you're saying some issue which is, like, for example, in any story, if it is a serious issue, how the audience would be listening? I mean, the other person, obviously he or she would be listening in a attentive manner, like in engaging mode. Okay, what this guy will gonna tell? So this is like you're creating a mood. So we need to create a mood in order to create a story world. So we'll check that what are all the settings. Okay, so now the first one is time. So how the time is impacting in order to create a story? Because in order to create any of the story, time is very, very important. So how we can say that is, for example, I can give you an example. If a person, he's I can say that he's from army, navy, or army background. So what army people like, if they get a call, I mean, he is inside the home right now, but he's getting an emergency call at night. So what that does, that means actually that person who is getting a call, if it is a day timing, so you won't feel it's a normal call only. But if it is a emergency night timings, and that too they are asking him to come back to army, so what you will think? So you feel that there is a urgency in it. So you need to create that urgency, because that will happen because of the time. I mean, you can create in the story world. The time is the one of the setting you need to create it, because you can see few stories 80s backdrop, like 2000 backdrop, maybe 90s backdrop. So why we have this backdrop? I mean, why I'm calling it a backdrop means the time frame which we are setting up on 90s, right? That is the main reason we are trying to say that. I mean, the environment, the setting actually, that setup completely. I'm using 80s backdrop. What are all the things I have used in 80s? If it is a Bajaj Chetak, so I use it in a Bajaj Chetak. If it is 90s, that is how I will create the world, right? And similar way, time is nothing but, it's not 80s or 90s. It's also the main character, some certain age. If I want to show this or maybe show, or if you write a story, I mean, for the book or the film or whatever the medium would be. But if you want to create a story, you need to have this. For example, if you are creating a story for a time of main character, we call it a protagonist. Hero is nothing but a protagonist. So main characters, 30 years age. So what happened? Maybe you're showing that incident. So some events, we also call it as events. So what happened in World War II? I mean, at that time, what exactly happened? Maybe you're taking some incident. Okay. So when you're taking previous incidents, or maybe you can say that your story happened in one night. You can see many movies and as well as many books also. Like one story is happening on one night or one day, because they started one night means the story started. I'm talking about in the story world which you have created. So it started from night 9. Maybe the story would be end by morning 6 o'clock. It could happen, right? So when you are specifying about time in the story, so these are all the, this is the way how you create it, because time shows the urgency, and time shows that that alertness. Because see, now we are getting, this is the time to go for the class, so everyone would be alert. So that is how, when there is a deadline for time, so everyone would get alert. Even the listener also, if you are telling a story, the listener also will alert. Okay, so you there, if there is a time frame, right? So next setting is place. So what, yeah, please use the earphones if anyone is having issue. Okay. Yeah, Surendra, please. Yeah, you can write stories, no problem. Okay. If anyone is having an issue, uh, please use earphones. Yes. Thank you. So the next setting is place. So when we are creating a story, place is also very important. How the place will impact? Because the place, for example, we need to take a realistic places. When you are creating a movie or when you are writing a book, we need to take the realistic places like city backdrop or village backdrop. I'm trying to say this same story in village, and I want to convey this same story in city, maybe Mumbai, Hyderabad. So if the story is revolving there in a middle class house, so that place is very important. If you take an example of 26/11 attack, so most of the Indians would be remember that 26/11 attack that happened in hotel. If you want to write a book or write an article, or if you want to take that as an example, or if you want to make a movie out of it, you need to take a place of hotel only, because it happened in hotel. So similar way, you cannot take a park because that happened in hotel. So you need to take accurate locations also. Place also impact the people. Like for example, in a village, if you take an example of village, the mindset of the people would be in a different way, right? If you take an example of city, so mindset would be different. Like even no one cares about you, everyone would be in the apartments, so no one talks to others. So it's like the living style is different. So whatever the story you have or you're trying to write, you need to confirm that as a writer, as a storyteller, you need to have a convention on this, on which time I want to prefer this story, or which time I want to set it up a story in a which place also. For example, if it is in 1980s, I want to take place as a village. So this is what you need to create it. This is setting of the story, because before going to write any story, you need to set up and you need to know this, because when you know these setting all these settings, then only whatever the idea you have, a raw idea, for example, any raw idea you have, the women empowerment, you take an example of women empowerment. So that is the raw idea you got. So how to write a story on it? So you take a place, okay, a girl, the place which is a village, okay, the girl raised in a village in a conservative family, and time maybe 1980s. You can take, and those time, why I'm taking 1980s, because those time people are like complete the, even though now also we call it a conservative family, and those period, people mentality or mindset would be very they cannot go out, they should not go out, so this is how they should not study also, girls should not go out, these type of many different type of mindset people were there at 1980s. If you're taking it, if you're writing something, so this is how you need to create it. You need to have all the settings in your mind. Okay, so the next one is mood. How you are creating a mood. So mood is depends on the writers, I'm sorry, the listener or the reader. If you're writing a book, the reader. If you're telling a story, the listener. If you're making a film, an audience. So you are creating it a mood. So what does that mean? How you are, as a writer, how you are creating on impacting of an audience? Because there is a term called preparing an auditorium. So anything, even if you take it an auditorium, or even books also, in novel also, any novel, you take any example of the novels, they'll prepare you in a preface. You can see that something, this novel is based on this, or this is what I'm trying to say. So why they are saying that in the preface of the novel? Because they want to say that this novel is gonna set it up, I mean already the novel, they set it up in such a way. So this novel set it up in this way. So in order to read, your mood, or they are preparing an auditorium, they are preparing a reader's mind. So in order to read this novel, you need to be prepared like this, because I can expect this novel like this, because the title would be different if the content is different. So I may think that it's a different novel. So that is the reason, the preface, what they have written, so we need to expect something out of it. Similar way, if you go and watch a movie, within a, maybe title would be a family title, or maybe you think that it's a family story, but as soon as you enter into the auditorium, you feel that within a 10 minutes they prepare your mood. This is not a family story, this is a thriller story. So this is how you need to prepare or create a mood, actually, because that is very, very important when you are creating. I mean, it's just like when you are creating some dangerous elements. You have mentioned some dangerous elements or adventurous elements. So obviously, the person who is watching, listening, the person who is reading, so they will be like, it's nail biting for them, because it's like when there is a danger going to happen, so we would be sitting in the edge of the seat. We call it edge of the seat, right? So why? Because they have actually created a mood. As an audience, I am also feeling the similar way in that situation, in that dangerous situation. So I'm feeling myself in the dangerous situation. That is how you need to create it. Okay. And next one is context. What is this context? So many people, I mean, I can say that if you are writing a story, what is the context? Or if a group of people just chit chatting, or maybe they are discussing, I can say, or debate kind of thing, the the new person who is going to come right now, he will ask that what is the context? Means, are they talking about any social issue? Are they talking about any cultural issue? I mean, what exactly they are talking about? The context of the story, historical, political, environmental. So we need to know that the context, and we need to create it. As a creator right now, we are in the side of creation, like as a writer. So you need to create it. What context you want to convey your story? What context you need to add it? Like this, all the elements, all the setting. Which context you want to add it? You can see that in many movies also, and as well as the books also. If it is medical, they will take a medical background. That is the reason in the first slide I mentioned it. We also call it as a backdrop. For everything, place, time, everything, we call it a backdrop, but we also call it a setting. Okay, so medical backdrop. So they will, if there is any educational, like for example, if you take a movie of Three Idiots, that is educational backdrop. I guess most of the people have watched the Three Idiots movie. So if you take a movie of Dangal, that is sports backdrop. So if there is any movie which is or the book which is representing, it's a political backdrop. So you need to know that what is your context. When you're setting up a story, you need to know all these elements when you're writing a story, so that you will decide as a writer, as a creator, you will be having all this in your mind, and you have decided, and you want to write it in such a way, right? And so those are all the elements of setting or the backdrop. Now, what is theme? Okay, so theme, why we call it a theme? Because if anyone, for example, if you watched one movie, if someone asks you, hey, have you watched this movie? Yeah, you will say that yes, but he or she doesn't have a time. What they will say that they will ask a question because they have a curiosity inside. I mean, just a normal thing, right? So human curiosity would be there. So how about the movie? I mean, you won't sit and narrate the whole movie, right? You will say the theme of it. That means this movie is about some message, maybe whatever you feel as an audience, whatever you felt when you are watching that whole movie, you say that. For example, if there is a book, if it is a 200 pages of book, so already you read the book, I'll ask the feedback from you. How was the book? So you will say that you will explain me in such a way, in a two to three lines of theme of the book. You won't narrate everything, what exactly happened in the book, right? So why we use this theme? Because in any story, for example, if we are talking about, if I just whatever you call it, like cook up stories, right? If I ask you why you are late, maybe you say that it's a traffic jam or something else. So these stories doesn't have a theme, but in a professionally, or if you are trying to bring the audience to our world, any story, be it a storytelling, be it a stand-up comedy, be it a book you're writing it, or maybe the article you're writing it, or you're writing it for the movies, anything for professionally, in order to engage the audience, you need to have exactly a theme. Because otherwise, if there is no theme, what will happen? If you have watched the movie for 2 hours of movie, then you will say that end of the movie, I mean completion of the movie, you will say that I don't know why this guy have directed the movie, or what intention they have to make this movie, right? So why we say this type of comments? Because maybe you may not find the theme, or there is no theme in the movie itself. Maybe they didn't they have started the movie and they have concluded it. That's it. Maybe they have not provided you in a proper way as an audience. So the what exactly the theme about that creating that movie, right? And the book also. The book is good. It's going in a a nice way. I mean, that narrative style is good, but I don't find it's like what the writer want to convey. These type of comments will get. So actually, what is theme is theme is nothing but a message. As a writer or the storyteller, I want to give some message. So in order to give a message, maybe I can text you, right? So that is not the way. Theme should be having in undercurrent. Maybe few books or few movies, maybe they will say that the whole theme at the end of the movie with the voiceover, or at the end of the book, they will mention that this is what my theme. But most of the themes are like writers' ideas. A writer, as a writer, what exactly I thought about it. I mean, that is my innovative idea, right? So I want to say that. I want to convey it. So maybe that's a philosophy or what I believe as a writer. What I believe, I'm trying to convey that to an audience, maybe a reader, if it is a book. So I'm trying to convey that. That is called what exactly I'm conveying it. That is called a theme. Okay. So we have different themes. It doesn't mean that these are all the only restricted themes. These are all the main themes I'm talking about. These are all the only themes. Maybe you can get it in a different way. For example, if you watch a movie, maybe you understand in a different way. As a person, my experiences and my uh, my age or everything comes to that theme, and maybe my understanding would be in a different way. So that comes to the picture. So I will see in a different way, right? So it doesn't mean that every theme or every audience, the understanding of the theme would be the only conventional way. Maybe unconventional way also they can explain the theme. But we have a standard themes. So we'll discuss about it right now. So good and evil. It is there in every, from our Puranas, like Ramayana, Mahabharata, you can take anything. We have good and bad, right? So this is the main, universal theme. You can call it a universal theme because it is there in everywhere. Even in India, if you take any book or any, we call it a movie, like any story, if you want to take a theme, maybe the protagonist, antagonist. Protagonist is nothing but a hero, antagonist is nothing but a villain. That could be anyone. If you take a super heroes also, there would be one protagonist, one antagonist. So if you, if you flip anything, you can have like good and bad. This is there, right? So this is how you are creating it, the good and bad. Maybe you can explore with the action part is nothing but what exactly the action part and dialogues you are creating in a story, and as well as how you have created the character. So these are all the things, because it's a good and bad is like nothing but you are creating both the characters. As a writer, I'm creating both of them. So because I want to convey this type of theme, I want to convey what exactly my story is in this type of theme. So that is my idea. And the next one is love. So love means like this is also a universal theme because we have this been years. So what is this theme about in literature also? Even if you want to write a book also, uh, for example, if you want to show or convey this type of love stories, it's not about only a boy and girl love. Maybe you can call it you know a conflict between father and son. That is also love, because end of the day, They both have a love and affection, but they have some small conflict. That is what the story you want to convey. So most of the love stories, or if you take love as a theme of the story, so you want to, maybe it's sacrificing, maybe compromise, because if you take this father and son conflict, if this is an example, maybe someone, either the father or the son, they need to compromise at some or the other point. They need to compromise, then only, again, I mean, whatever the conflict they had, that would be resolved, that will give a kind of complete resolution, right? So this is how, when you're creating a love stories, so we call it a forbidden love, like it's a Romeo Juliet love, it's just a pure love story. You can make it, see, love story means, that is the theme. Maybe if you call me, I mean, if you ask me how you create a love story, because everyone would be having or creating a love story means one boy and one girl. If you ask me, maybe I can put them in, both of the characters, I can put them in one college, but the same person, I mean, same love, James Cameron, he put it in the Titanic ship. That is a backdrop he created for the love, right? So this is the love is a theme, but he created a backdrop, the place we discussed about place, right? So in that place, he has created in a ship, that is in Titanic ship. So that is how it got a famous love story. And family love, you see stories between as we discussed about father and son conflict, or mother and son conflict, or siblings. If you take a Bahubali, siblings are fighting. That is what the main theme. They are fighting for the power. End of the day, they are fighting for the power, actually. But the thing is, those two people, I mean, hero and villain, I mean, we call it a protagonist, antagonist, but they belongs to one family, right? They're siblings. So the theme also is there with the love and friendship. You can see many movies like they get some disputes and or some issues, you call it hurdles, in their friendship, and how they try to resolve it, or how they approach it again. So that becomes a story, because you are trying to tell a story on your friend, or like what happened to him, or like maybe their friendship. So this is how you can create it, but your theme is love. There is a love between a friends. So this is how you need to create the themes, and this is very much important. It's a redemption. So what do you mean by redemption? Anyone? Yeah, Mahabharata also, due to jealousy. Yes, same thing. Mahabharata is also ancestors. Uh, with the example of the theme. These are all the examples which we are discussing, right? Yeah, we'll take questions. So we'll just talk about redemption. We'll complete this, and we have a questionnaire at the end. Yeah, we'll discuss about it. Neeraj, we'll discuss about it. Redemption is nothing but, see, this is the character's journey. You know what is redemption, right? If anyone have watched Shawshank Redemption, is one of the famous movie. I don't know how many of you people have watched that movie. That's a very famous movie. So if you get a chance, try watch it. So one person, from his he has committed any mistake. It's human beings, right? We all do. We all make mistakes. Maybe the whatever we call it, the mistake, whatever the mistake which we have done, that should not be a crime. Maybe it's a small mistake. That's fine. You can correct it, or you will come to know that what is the mistake, and you have done past. maybe you can come out of it. But if you're doing a crime or anything unknowingly, it's not that anyone wants to get into the crime, right? So if you have committed any mistake, I'm talking about the character. So character has done any mistake and they want to come out of it. In the sense, the character's journey, we call it a character's transformation. So how the character, get a freedom out of it? You need to show that in this. That is what actually your theme, and you need to show that in specific story, what exactly you're trying to say, or your storytelling. So you need to. It's a kind of crime and punishment. The theme is there is a crime happened, maybe knowingly or unknowingly, and he got punished. They put him in a kind of behind the bars. Then he slowly, there is a change on him. Like he got something like I need to change because I have done a mistake. So he's coming out of it. So that is how we create this kind of redemption. That is the theme of the story. So I cannot say that, okay, in an end of the story or movie or book, you call it, I cannot say that, I cannot return it like this. Okay, so and so person, this person has changed. I cannot say that. What I will suggest, the way, the transformation of the character, I will show that, or I will write it in the book. That journey, in order to, because I want to change myself, so I will show. It's not that, okay, I will change. It's not that easy, right? It requires a journey. So I'm showing that journey. So that journey is nothing but a story. My theme is nothing but a redemption. And persistence. You can see this in many movies or many places. Like whatever the story you start with, this would be like, if you take a biopic, if you take anyone, like Dhirubhai Ambani, any famous people, any uh, any any person who has dedication or determine themselves, they want to achieve something. You can see this. Any one of you from your, I can say that in this group also, anyone who is watching also, maybe they have their life like this. They have a courage, because when you are creating a character with the courage, because normally, as we are discussing the story session, storytelling session itself, the first thing is, when you create a character, they need to have lot many hurdles, troubles, or conflict. Any name, this would be the same, right? So why we need to create all this? Because how many hurdles he's crossing it, and he's reaching his goal, then only he'll become a hero, right? That is why we watch movies. That is why we read the books. Those characters, we love those characters. That is how we get inspired, by listening or by reading, by watching those journeys. How whatever the hurdles they have, how, this is the question. How means, it's maybe a simple question, but the journey, whatever they have done in order to make it possible, right? So this is very important, and it's there in everyone's life also. Maybe not you, your parents, you might see your parents or your relatives, anyone. You can see this, like from zero to hero becoming, that journey I'm talking about. So that is how it should be. And next one is revenge. So what is revenge? We may have many movies or many stories. So someone has done something to one character. Maybe because of that he lost his family, maybe because of that he lost his loved ones, loved people, many anything. So what he will do, the person who got affected, he will be like taking a revenge on that guy. It's like this is also a universal concept where you can see that like one person, I mean, is a protagonist and one person is an antagonist. Similar way, good and bad, or this theme also similar way. But he has done something wrong. Like I'm talking about, the antagonist is a villain. He has done something wrong. That is the reason protagonist is taking a revenge. This is how you create a story. Because if there is any conflict, I mean, how you create that conflict? Because something happened to this protagonist. Protagonist is somewhere in the different world. Okay, he's in somewhere. He's not connected to any of this sorry, antagonist world. So how they both got connected? Because some issue, this antagonist has killed someone. Maybe he took something. So that is how this protagonist is taking a revenge. So what he has done in order to take a revenge, see, if I say that, yeah, I need to take a revenge, that's not gonna help, right? So there is a journey. That is what the story about, and the theme is revenge. Okay, so these are all the basic themes. Till now we have discussed all these themes. These are all the standard themes. We may have many themes, but how to develop a theme into your story? Because you have some story, sometimes what will happen, I mean, why we got this is, slide, what I'm trying to say is, few people, few writers, because it's like writing is a never ending process. Anyone can write it. So when I am writing it, when I have written one story, I know that, okay, this is my theme because I want to convey this. Sometimes I will complete this story, but I don't know the theme. That is a question. Maybe I couldn't get it. Sometimes we may not find the theme. As we discussed in the this session, I mean, before talking about theme, without having a theme, the story would be like, what is this? What he wants to convey, or what he wants to say that out of whole story. The story is good. What he is trying to convey, that is a question mark. So in order to remove that, question mark and fill something there, what we need to do in order to identify a theme in our story? Sometimes we may not find it. I'll complete the story writing, but I don't know the theme, right? So in order to do that, we need to follow few things. We'll discuss it right now. Sorry. Seek universal themes. So, for example, when you have created these characters, when you create plot, when you create events, so you have been working on these characters, and you have been working on their setup, environment, village, mood. You're creating everything, right? So you need to ask yourself that if there is anything like in a related to the life, maybe it's undercurrent. Theme is undercurrent. Just remember that it may not be for every story, but most of the stories theme would be undercurrent. So you may need to find it in this journey, in this character's journey, in this protagonist journey, what you're trying to say. Maybe antagonist journey also. For example, if you take Ramayana, if you think your way of thinking, or your perspective I'm talking about, if you see other side, if you the Ravana side, then you will come to know the theme, because they have not, they have not mentioned, they have not quoted anything anywhere in the Ramayana, but you yourself, come to know that Ravana side, if you see that Ravana side, he is a very knowledgeable and he is a very powerful person, but still he got some weakness. He did some mistake, right? So when he is doing that, obviously, he got punished or something happened to him. That is how, whatever you do, it will happen. That is called a karma, whatever you believe it. So you can see a theme in any point of view, but you need to know how and ask yourself what is the theme. And next one is, choose a theme that sticks with your reader. A reader would know the theme, because if you see this picture, see, those are, that actually beneath the surface, the theme is beneath the surface. Okay, so that is not visible. That's not visible to everyone, like story, plot, or whatever we discuss, that is not visible. But you need to try and identify it in a reader's point of view or audience point of view. How come audience point of view? So when you watch your movie, or when you whatever you read the story, whatever you have written, so you need to read in an audience perspective. Then you will come to know any idea of a theme, what you're trying to say, not a writer's perspective. Already you have written, but you don't know the theme. That is what you're trying to identify right now. So the next one is, sometimes this will actually helpful to some of the story elements. In order to progressive of the story also, start with another story element. What is the story element? Already we discussed, right? These 5: setting, character, conflict, plot, theme, right? So in the story elements, maybe you are, this is point of view. Again, I'm talking about the point of view. Storytelling is, or story writing is, nothing but a point of view, because you understand in a different way, I understand in a different way, maybe, right? If you are trying to understand the story of the theme of the story from character point of view, but you try to analyze it in point of view, you get a theme. If you try to analyze it in a plot point of view, what exactly the plot, and that is how you get the theme. Real events, you might have mentioned some real events also. So through that real events, life events, for example, in my life, something happened where I realized it. Maybe that is the theme, right? So wave your theme throughout the narrative. What does that mean? Because when you're trying to see, this is what, if you take a movie of Dangal example, if you take a Dangal movie, you can see that there is nothing they have mentioned that this is the theme, this is what I want to mention, or this is what I want to convey to the audience. It's not like that, right? But what he has tried, he tried to say that, or he has given you some glimpse, or maybe he or she, the person who has written. So what you got, maybe it's a women empowerment. I feel it's a women empowerment, because the women in a conservative family in the village, that too in a 90s backdrop. So how their mentality, mindset, and how she come out of it and get a national champion. That's not very easy, right? Women are they're dressed up and everything, because the conservative families, how they behave, their mindset, she has to come out of all this. Of course, the father encouraged, but she also having some humiliations from the family members, relatives, right? So they have to come out of all this. So throughout narration of this whole story, maybe I can see in this perspective, narrative perspective. If I see that I may get theme, I may find one theme. And the last one is, don't limit yourself. What do you mean by that? Because as I've told you, these are all the themes we discussed. 5 themes are there, but these are all the standard themes. But you may get n number of themes because that is your ideology, your message. I mean, what you want to convey. Theme is nothing but a message we discussed. So that comes from any of this type of story. Maybe you can refer any short stories, any short films also. You can refer someone has mentioned in a different way. They are conveying in a different way. Because same story, one person is conveying in other way, another person is portraying in a different way. Because it's their choice. As we already discussed in the last session, same story, you know that the story will be like this, but still you need to keep engage the audience. That is your job as a storyteller, as a writer. So that is your job. They know what you're trying to say, but still they need to get engaged. That is how you need to create the world. How you're going to create it? Using all these elements. Okay. Now is yeah. Now we'll go to the questions. Rajshekhar, what do you mean by women empowerment? Women empowerment is like we are giving a respect to the women in our society, because those days women should not come out, and they're like they have some restrictions in order to come out or do something, that is called the women empowerment. Himanshi, second, sir, if I'm writing a story, so how can I give backdrop? Background. It's not a background. Himanshi, it's a backdrop. We discussed. Backdrop is nothing but setting. You need to prepare it. I mean, that is your choice. How you want to convey your story. We have a backdrop of time, place, so mood. You need to create it. How you want to say that? That is your ideology. Can you please say how to create a story in our mind, Neeraj? You need to see, you can create it on your mind only, but the thing is, you need to write. Whatever it comes to your ideas or anything, you need to write it. Because if you don't write, maybe you forget the things. That is the one thing. Another thing is, when you're writing it, that will improvise. You get new other ideas or new ideas. Jagruti. Oh, going very fast. Sorry, I don't think it's a, but we have covered the topics. Vilasni, no questions, thank you. But please do write stories. As you said, many people want to write a story. Yeah, please do write. Do attempt. Manvita, I want definition of a theme. Theme is nothing but a message. Whatever the writer's ideology, conveying that, whatever he is trying to convey, that is called a theme. Because those are related to genre. Yes, when you decide the genre, then only it comes to the theme. Because I want to convey the story because the love story, love, that is the theme and the genre also. Maybe your question relates to this. Shruti, yeah, title becomes a big problem. It's not a problem, but like sometimes in order to grab attention, title would be different also sometimes. It's up to you, Shruti. Like, how do you set a title means it's up to according. Normally, the title would be according to your story. What exactly you are conveying the story. So that is how you can create a title. But if you say that like title is like uh, catchy, sometimes we'll see that like different title. People will go in a different title. So maybe attractive title. You can do that. It's up to you. Can we create imaginary place, Rajshekhar? Yes, we can. Bahubali is an imaginary place, right? Similar way. Speaker, you know, they asked to write a title. See, the title is that it should do a story, whatever the title is, whatever the story you're trying to convey, it should have this Manvita. Sir, if the conflicts are more in a story, if the story can be interesting, become interesting, yeah, it would be interesting to an audience, but it would be difficult for a writer only because for you, in order to, because you are creating a conflict. We'll discuss more about when the conflict class. But if you are creating a conflict, you need to resolve it also. So if you are creating more conflicts, you need to resolve many things. Himanshi, how to create urgency and what is urgency? See, as I've given an example, an army officer, he wants to get back to his work when he gets a call at midnight. That is an urgency. That is how you create it. See, that is how, as a story writer or the storyteller, you are creating it. So I feel that is the urgency. Assignments not right now because we need to complete more topics in order to give the assignments. Manvita will talk about plot completely because we just discussed about plot. Plot is in the story elements. Plot is nothing but plot and story. Story is the whole story. Everyone knows it. Plot is when the problem starts and till the problem ends. That is called a plot. Rest everything, including rest everything, that is called a story. Yeah, thank you very much. I hope no questions. Yeah, yeah, we'll give assignments once we get all the completed. Once we complete these kind of things, because it's like we need to complete many things. Uh, yeah, thank you very much. Thanks, you guys.